I can't believe you would do this.
It wasn't like that. Let me explain.
Explain what? The lies?
Please, just listen.
The hotel lobby felt too bright for the kind of humiliation that was about to unfold. Sunlight streamed through the towering glass windows, reflecting off polished marble floors and chrome pillars, turning everything painfully visible. Nathaniel Brooks stood there in his simple navy button-down shirt, one hand gripping the handle of his worn suitcase, the other clutching his phone as if it were an anchor. Across from him stood his boss, Vanessa Whitmore, impeccable, poised, and completely unaware that the next few seconds would change both their lives. Only one room left. We're both adults, right? The words weren't shouted. They didn't need to be. They landed with a quiet force that felt heavier than a slap. Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet strength of people who refuse to compromise their values, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Anne's Stories. Stories like this remind us why integrity still matters. Nathaniel had worked for Whitmore and Hale Consulting for 3 years. He wasn't the loudest voice in meetings, nor the most polished dresser in the office. But he was dependable. He showed up early, left late, and never complained. What most of his colleagues didn't know was that every evening he rushed home to a small 2-bedroom apartment, where his 7-year-old daughter, Aria, waited with her backpack still on, and her hair usually half undone from a long day at school. Aria had been 4 when her mother passed away after a sudden illness. Nathaniel had learned how to braid hair from online videos. He had burned dinners before finally mastering a handful of simple meals. He kept a sticky note inside his wallet with Aria's favorite things written in neat handwriting: purple crayons, strawberry yogurt, bedtime stories about brave princesses who saved themselves. Everything he did, every promotion he chased, every exhausting business trip he accepted was for her. This conference in Chicago was supposed to be an opportunity. Vanessa Whitmore had personally selected him to assist her in pitching to a major client. It was a chance to prove he was more than just a background analyst. It was a chance to secure a future where Aria wouldn't have to worry about tuition, about rent, about anything. But a citywide tech expo had flooded every hotel within miles. After a delayed flight and a 2-hour taxi ride through sunlit but congested streets, they had arrived to discover there was only one room available. The receptionist had apologized repeatedly. Vanessa had waved her off, then turned to Nathaniel with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "We're both adults, right?" The suggestion hung between them like a test disguised as practicality. Nathaniel's heart pounded, not from temptation, but from fear. He knew how quickly things could spiral in corporate environments. A rumor, a misunderstanding, a whisper in the wrong ear. He thought of Aria's drawing taped to his refrigerator. 2 stick figures holding hands under a bright yellow sun. She had written, "My dad is my hero." Heroes didn't compromise themselves in quiet hotel rooms. The daylight pouring through the lobby windows made everything feel exposed. He swallowed, steadying himself. He could already imagine colleagues back home speculating. He could imagine the subtle shift in how Vanessa might treat him if he refused. He inhaled slowly and made his choice. He apologized politely, explaining that he would find another place to stay, even if it meant driving to the suburbs. He assured her he would still be ready for the presentation at 8 sharp. His tone was respectful but firm. He would not share the room. Vanessa's expression flickered, something between surprise and irritation. She was a woman used to getting what she wanted, used to employees bending without question. For a moment, the bright lobby felt colder. She nodded curtly and accepted the room key alone. Nathaniel left the hotel, with his suitcase rolling unevenly behind him. The afternoon sun was high and merciless. He checked every nearby hotel, full, every rental app, booked. His phone battery dipped lower with each failed attempt. Finally, nearly an hour later, he found a modest family run-in 20 minutes away. It wasn't glamorous. The carpet was outdated, and the air conditioner rattled. But it was separate. It was safe. It was his. That night, after reviewing slides under harsh fluorescent lights, he called Aria. She answered with her usual breathless excitement, telling him about a spelling test and how she had fed the neighbor's cat. When she asked if he was staying in a big fancy room, he hesitated only a second before saying yes, because to her, any place he slept while chasing his dreams was fancy enough. The next morning dawned bright and clear. Chicago shimmered under a blue sky, sunlight bouncing off skyscrapers. Nathaniel arrived at the conference center early, crisp and composed despite only 4 hours of sleep. Vanessa was already there, reviewing her notes. She barely acknowledged him. The presentation began smoothly, but halfway through, the client's lead executive began asking technical questions, deep analytical points that Vanessa hadn't fully prepared for. A bead of sweat traced down her temple. The room's atmosphere tightened. Nathaniel stepped forward. He spoke calmly, confidently, walking through the data models he had built himself. He explained projections, risk mitigation strategies, and cost efficiencies in a way that felt less like a sales pitch and more like a conversation. The sunlight from the massive windows behind the clients illuminated his profile. And for the first time, Vanessa truly saw him, not as a subordinate, but as an equal. By the end of the meeting, the client extended their hand. They were impressed. They wanted to move forward. Outside, in the brightness of late morning, Vanessa finally broke her silence. She asked him how he had managed to stay so focused, despite the hotel situation. Nathaniel answered honestly. He told her about Arya, about being a single father, about wanting to build a reputation that his daughter could be proud of. He said he believed professionalism wasn't situational. It was constant. Vanessa's expression softened in a way he hadn't seen before. What Nathaniel didn't know was that Vanessa had grown up watching her own father lose everything after a scandal at his firm, one fueled by rumors and blurred boundaries. She had built walls around herself ever since, believing that power and control were the only ways to survive in corporate life. When Nathaniel refused her suggestion, she had initially seen it as defiance. Now she saw it as strength. That afternoon, under a clear daytime sky, she did something that shocked him far more than her initial request. She apologized. Not in a dramatic way, not loudly, just quietly, sincerely. She admitted she hadn't considered how uncomfortable her suggestion might have been. She thanked him for maintaining his professionalism and for saving the presentation. She told him she respected his decision. Weeks later, back at the office, a company-wide announcement echoed through the bright open workspace. Nathaniel Brooks was being promoted to senior strategy lead. The client had specifically requested him for future collaborations. Vanessa had endorsed him personally. But the real shock came during the quarterly meeting. Vanessa shared a new company policy emphasizing professional boundaries and ethical conduct during business travel. She credited an unnamed employee for reminding her that leadership meant modeling integrity. Nathaniel felt heat rise to his cheeks as colleagues applauded. That evening, sunlight streamed through his apartment window as Arya ran into his arms, her backpack bouncing against his side. He lifted her high, spinning her in the golden glow of late afternoon. He told her he had good news. She asked if it meant more bedtime stories. He laughed and said yes. It meant more everything. He realized then that success wasn't just about promotions or clients. It was about the quiet choices made when no one was watching. It was about standing in a bright hotel lobby and choosing self-respect over convenience. It was about showing a little girl that strength could be gentle and firm at the same time. Vanessa, for her part, began mentoring younger employees differently. She listened more. She assumed less. She even reached out to Nathaniel one afternoon to ask for advice on balancing leadership with empathy. In choosing integrity, he had not only protected himself, he had changed the culture around him. If this story has touched your heart, if you believe that even small acts of courage can ripple outward and transform lives, please take a moment to like, share, and comment. Your engagement helps these stories reach others who might need a reminder that doing the right thing is never wasted. Special request, comment integrity wins if you believe character matters more than convenience. Years later, when Arya stood on a sunlit stage at her elementary school graduation, she scanned the crowd until she found her father. He stood in the front row, suit pressed, eyes shining. In that moment, she didn't know about hotel lobbies or corporate tests. She only knew that her dad always showed up. And that was the choice that had shocked everyone. Not that he refused a room, but that he refused to be anything less than the man his daughter believed him to be. Under the warmth of that bright afternoon sun, Nathaniel understood something simple and powerful. Integrity doesn't always roar. Sometimes it stands quietly, suitcase in hand, and walks away,